All right, y'all. Very first show of the morning blitz. Here, I'm Mason Priest, as you can see on the little thing on the bottom. Um, so this is like I said, the very first show of the morning blitz. It'll be an everyday thing from 7 a.m. to around 7:45, 8 a.m. Just previewing games that are gonna happen the day of, previewing games that are coming up during the weekend. Like today, we're going to preview the Northwestern State versus East Texas A&M game, that homecoming game this weekend. Um, if you don't really know who I am, I'm a student at Northwestern State. It's in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Um, Big Saints fan, big LSU fan, big Louisiana sports guy. Keep up with all the high schools around the state of Louisiana. So, there'll be sometimes we're talking some high school football here on the Morning Blitz. Gonna try to get some sponsors here on the Morning Blitz. Try to get some special guests, and just make this a big thing. You know what I'm saying? And so every Tuesday though, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., I will be on KNWD, a radio station in Natchitoches, the student radio station. So we'll do this from 7 to 8, and then from 8 to 9, I'll jump on the radio station and um and do the talk show on there if you're in the Natchitoches, Louisiana area. All right, so first show, September 29th. I'm real excited about what we're gonna be able to do on this show. I like the layout of this entire thing. Got the logo sitting right there. Got a little scrolling text at the bottom, which is really cool. But let's jump right into things. As you can tell by the little scrolling text, LSU loses to Ole Miss, and the Saints lose to the Bills. It was tough to wake up this morning, man. Tough to wake up this morning because of the weekend of sports. The Ryder Cup. I thought the USA was going to come back yesterday. Russell Henley left the putt short, and it's not Russell Henley's fault at all. Why we lost, the whole team played bad Friday and somewhat of Saturday. We were playing catch up because we played so bad Friday morning. We were just playing catch up all weekend. Um, but it was fun. It was a fun weekend. The Ryder Cup's always fun, no matter the result. The trash talking's always fun. From Bryson, from Rory, from the fans. Some of it was a little over the top from the fans. But a lot of it's all funny. Like I heard someone say Tommy Fleetwood, tell Tommy Fleetwood, he said, Tommy, you better be glad this isn't a 4-day event, talking about how Tommy always chokes on day 4 and he can never, go win a tournament on the PGA Tour. But USA loses the Ryder Cup to Europe. LSU loses. The Saints lose. The Astros don't make the playoffs. Me, I'm a Mets fan. The Mets aren't going to make the playoffs, or I don't think. I haven't looked at the. Yeah, the Mets aren't making the playoffs. I know that for sure. Um, I haven't looked at the entire bracket of the MLB. I've been watching so much football, and but um, but yeah, man, we're gonna jump right into things. First, we're gonna start off with Northwestern State, because I'm a student there. Um, this Northwestern State football team, man, I'm not gonna shy away from the truth. It's an ugly football team. It's a bad football team. Um, as a student and as a person of this school and a person that watches every Northwestern State football game, I'm gonna be the first one to back them and encourage them. But when it comes to doing stuff like this, can't shy away from the truth. I mean, it's a bad football team. It's a bad football team, and no one expected them to be good. Um, I didn't expect them to be one of the top teams in the Southland Conference. Um, competing for a spot at a Southland Conference championship. I didn't think that, and no one really thought that, right? Um, But yes, this Northwestern State football team, they're 1-3, and they'll play East Texas A&M this weekend. Now, the game that Northwestern State won was against Alcorn State. That was the season opener, um, the home opener. They won that game 20-10. Everyone knows about that. It was all over social media. Rushed the field. The fans rushed the field. So it was a cool moment for Northwestern State. Snapping their losing streak. You know, but then and they would go to Minnesota, lose that 66-0, then go to Cincinnati and lose that 70-0. And a lot of people are basing this team, this Northwestern State team, off of those two games right there, the Minnesota game and the Cincinnati game. Well, what a lot of people don't understand, you're not supposed to win those games. Like the students here, you're not supposed to win those games. And I think that they thought that we were gonna win just because we beat Alcorn State. Um, and I'm not for this Alcorn State team. I'm not putting them down in any way. I'm not saying that this Alcorn State team was bad in this game. Did they play bad? Yes, they did play bad. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. Their touchdown that they scored in that game was a pick six, right? Um, and then they obviously kicked a field goal, scored 10 points. But this Alcorn State team won 6 games last year, and then the year before that they had won 7 games. So returned a lot of the players, returned the same coaching staff, and um, that's not a bad team, that Alcorn State team. But like I said, Minnesota, Cincinnati, you're not supposed to win those games. And then the game that I really thought that this Northwestern State team was going to be 2-2 coming into this weekend. Really did. They took a loss to Prairie View A&M, 27-24 last weekend. They're coming off a bye week. They didn't play this past Saturday. So last weekend against Prairie View A&M, they would lose that one 27-24. Prairie View, they just made just one more play to win the game, you know. But in the Minnesota and the Cincinnati game, we just got dominated on both sides of the ball. The Prairie View game, a hard fought game. But like I said, Prairie View just made that one extra play to go win the game. And let's talk about East Texas A&M now. This East Texas A&M team, they're not any good either. And they're 0-4 to start the season. Now, yes, their schedule's tough. I mean, they played two big teams. So did NSU, though. They played SMU, and then they played Florida State, and they played Grambling, and then they played North Carolina Central. Now, obviously, you're not beating SMU, and obviously, you're not beating Florida State, right? Everyone knows that. Just like Northwestern State is obviously not going to beat Minnesota and Cincinnati. Just like Louisiana Tech isn't going to beat LSU. Just like Southeastern isn't going to beat LSU. Right? But this is a team that lost to Grambling. This is a team that lost to Grambling 31-28. Yes, close game. Close game. But after playing SMU and Florida State, I feel like maybe this team just came into the Grambling game thinking, oh, it's just Grambling. We just played Florida State and SMU. Like, oh, this is for sure an easy win. Yeah. Grambling won that one 31-28. And then this past weekend, they played against North Carolina Central and lost that one 50-42. So East Texas A&M has yet to win a football game this year, man. This is a winnable game for Northwestern State. It's a homecoming game. Big crowd in the stands. Packed crowd. It's a night game. Energy. There's going to be a ton of energy from the crowds. Hopefully. Man. Hopefully there isn't a weather delay like last game. There's a really long lightning delay, which cut halftime in half. Cut halftime pretty short to like 8 minutes. And a lot of people left, and there wasn't really any energy in the crowd. But the people that stuck around, the true fans, shout out. But this second home game of the season for Northwestern State. There's only 4 home games for Northwestern State this year, and this is the second one. The second home game for NSU. and it's the homecoming game. Should be a lot of events and festivities this week throughout the campus, I assume, here in Natchitoches. But this is a game you got to win. You had a big win week 1. Hey, congrats. All right, let's keep this train rolling. I expected this team to be 2-2 coming into this weekend. But it just didn't turn out that way. Abram Johnston, the quarterback for Northwestern State, he's coming off a season high in passing yards that game against Prairie View. He threw for 156 yards and a season high in touchdowns. He threw for 2 TDs. Meon Hicks in that Natchitoches, not Natchitoches, excuse me. Every time I see NC Central, I think Natchitoches Central. Meon Hicks, he's averaging just under 5 yards a carry. And, as an offense, this team is averaging 14 points per game. They got goose egged against Minnesota, got goose egged against Cincinnati, only put up 20 against Alcorn, and put up 24 against Prairie View. So averaging 14 points a game. The offense has got to get going early this weekend, man. And they have to. And in the Alcorn State game, in like the third play of the game, third offensive play, the second offensive play of the game, Meon Hicks busted a 51-yard run to get the momentum going early. He got to the outside and finally got hogged down in the red zone. But he busted a 51-yarder real quick, and it was early in the game, set the tone, set the energy, and then we threw a touchdown pass to Ty Moore. And we scored early. Like, it wasn't even like a full 3-minute drive, I don't think. We scored really early in that game and set the tone early, and that's what's going to be the key to this game this weekend against East Texas A&M. Got to get the offense going early, man. The quarterback for East Texas A&M, Ron Peace, he had a game the other night. Imagine your quarterback throwing for 356 yards and you still lose the game, man. That's crazy. He threw for 356 yards and 2 touchdowns against North Carolina Central. The running back of East Texas A&M, KJ Schenkel, he is the team's leading rusher. He had a season high of 51 yards versus Grambling. So, for Northwestern State's defense, right? It's not a good running back, right? The backups aren't much better. Backups probably aren't better. Ron Peace has shown that, especially this past Saturday, that he can make plays in the air. Even the backup had a good night for East Texas A&M, but Ron Peace can make plays in the air, right? Threw for almost 400 yards in this game. And they put up 42 points, right? They put up 42 points, man. And for the defense of Northwestern State, they played lights out their last time they played at home. The only time they played at home this year, they played lights out. Didn't let up a touchdown. The only touchdown, like I said earlier, the only touchdown that Alcorn State scored was the pick 6 that Johnston threw. And then they let up a field goal. So this Northwestern State, I know it's not saying much because they've only played one home game, but this Northwestern State defense, this Northwestern State defense has not let up a touchdown at home this year. And I know it's not saying much, but it's true. They've only played one game at home, but still, this Northwestern State football team has not given up a defensive touchdown, has not given up a touchdown at home this season. I feel like this East Texas A&M offense, their run game, it's not it. It's not it. Their team's leading rusher, his season high is 51 yards versus Grambling State. Versus Grambling. We got to figure out a way to, make plays in the secondary. DB's got to step up this game. Caesar McGee, Williams, got to keep making plays. if they throw for 356 yards, um, then it might be a problem. It might be a problem. For Northwestern State, offensively, you got to be more consistent. Um, I know that it was Minnesota and it was Cincinnati. You're not supposed to win those games. I understand that. Um, but you got to be more consistent because going back to week 1 in the Alcorn State game, it was, scored very first drive of the game. Bam. And then we had like a 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, and then we had like a 5-play drive, I think, but we had a ton of punts before that lightning delay. Um, we weren't consistent on third down, uh, just in that game. And we haven't been all year. We haven't been consistent on third down all year. We're like 20% on third down efficiency, third down execution. It's not good. It won't win you any games. It won't win you any games in middle school ball, high school ball, junior league, little rec league ball. Won't win you any games, no matter where you're at. But offense got to be more consistent. Got to go make the plays that you're supposed to make. And again, I know it's Minnesota and Cincinnati. The defense got to go win the turnover battle this week. Got to go win the turnover battle this week, man. That's huge momentum shifters in the game, right? You go get a big turnover, big interception, big forced fumble recovery. A big fourth down stop. That changes the entire momentum of the game, right? This team, it's homecoming, like I said. Homecoming game. Use that to your advantage. Right, use that to your advantage, man. And should be a packed stadium. Should be live energy. Should be a packed crowd. Use the home field to your advantage, man. You only have 4 games at home this year, and this is your second one. And you're playing a team that you should win. This is a team that you should beat, right? This is a team. This is a game that you should win. Just got to make that extra play, and that's why they lost last week. Last week to Prairie View A&M. So Northwestern State will take on the 0-4. The 1-3 Northwestern State Demons will take on the 0-4 East Texas A&M Lions this Saturday for Northwestern State's homecoming game. So we'll talk more about that within the next couple of days and throughout the week and Saturday morning. We'll probably get some coaches interviews, some player interviews, and see what's going on with that game. But they're coming off a bye week. Everyone should be healthy. Just come out with your hair on fire, ready to play. It's all we can ask for, man. It's all we can ask for. Okay. Moving on. LSU at Ole Miss. Number 4 versus number 13. It was tough. It was a tough one to watch, man. Definitely was a tough one to watch. Obviously, LSU lost that one 24-19. This is a game where both teams, both LSU and Ole Miss, came into this game 4-0 undefeated. And man, that quarterback from Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, he was at Ferris State last year, a D2 school. At Ferris State last year, and came in today, threw for 314 yards and ran for 71 yards. LSU, they were missing Caden Durham. The run game was terrible. Offensive line sucked. Nussmeier sucked. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it how it is. Nussmeier sucked. The Nuss bus has a few flat tires, man. The Nuss bus Definitely has a few flat tires. Probably needs to get the oil change too. Um, Third down efficiency, we went 2 for 11. It's terrible. It's terrible, man. The offense was not it in this game, and the defense was called upon so many times, and they have been all season. They have been all season. They were against Florida, were against Clemson. Southeastern and Louisiana Tech, those games really don't matter. But still, this defense was called upon all game long, and the defense made the plays to keep you in the game. Right? This defense barely gave up 24 points to the number 13 team in the country. Right? And your offense can't score more than 20 points. Something's got to change, man. Something's got to change. The offensive line sucked, obviously. Nuss sucked. This defense only gave up 7 points in the second half. Only gave up 7 points in the second half, man. And something's got to change on the offensive side of the ball. Am I saying that I'm hitting the panic button? No. But do I think Michael Van Buren, the backup for LSU, could have made the plays on the ground with his legs? Because you remember early in the year, I think right before the year started, right before the season started, Nussmeier was battling a knee tendonitis. They said it wasn't nothing major, but now it came out a couple weeks ago, torso injury. So these are two injuries that, Nussmeier is probably still nagging, right? He wasn't mobile at all. Michael Van Buren is a mobile guy. He can make those plays on the ground. Even though Ole Miss was only rushing 3 all game, right? And like I said earlier, the offensive line was bad, man. They sucked. Ole Miss was rushing 3 all game, dropping 8. Dropping 8 men into coverage. We can't block 3 rushers, right? A nose guard and 2 defensive ends. We can't block them. Super young offensive line, though. I feel like Kyris Kern, a true freshman, my age. I feel like he played well for the most part. But really, other than that, man, it was ugly. It was sloppy from the O-line. Nussmeier took a lot of sacks. And, this defense was caught up on the entire game. But, the run game was horrible. Run game was really bad. Even, we were without Caden Durham. I feel like if we still had Caden Durham in this game, the run game still wouldn't have been as special as we wanted it to, or as good as we expected, or as good as we wanted it to, because the O-line was so bad this game. Let's do some game flow, some play-by-play of the game. In the first quarter, very first drive of the game, Ole Miss would receive. They went 3 and out. Then LSU would go 3 and out. Then Ole Miss would go 3 and out. And then it was a 5-play touchdown drive from LSU. That pass was actually intended for, excuse me, the pass was intended for Trey Green, right? Big Trey Green. It was broken up by former LSU safety Sage Ryan. Sage Ryan played at LSU last year, transferred. He actually played at LSU all 4 years, and now he's in his 5th year of college football. He's at Ole Miss now. Ryan broke up the pass. Ball tipped up in the air. Elite focus by Nick Anderson, receiver from LSU. Lays out, catch, has possession. Touchdown LSU, 7-0. Right after that, the last drive of the first quarter was 18-play drive, man. 18 plays. I think it was like 7 minutes, 8 minutes maybe. 8-minute drive from Ole Miss. They started at their 1 yard line. I don't remember. I think they started at like maybe it was a 6 yard line. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. But an 18 play field goal drive. In my opinion, the biggest play of this drive was Patrick Payton's batted down pass at the line when it was 3rd and 3 on the LSU 7 yard line. Ole Miss had a receiver open. And, Peyton did it a couple times this game, batted passes down to the line. Patrick Payton played well tonight, or not tonight, on Saturday. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. It's Monday morning, man. 7:23 a.m., man. Monday morning. Patrick Payton played well, but in my opinion, that's the biggest play of that drive. Hold him to a field goal going into the second quarter. 7-3. 7-3 going into the second quarter. 5-play drive. First drive of the game, first drive of the second quarter, it was a 5-play drive. We threw an interception. And the thing is, we threw that interception, but on that drive, Ole Miss had 3 penalties. You got to capitalize on those penalties, man. Got to. Try to get the run game going a little bit, didn't work. But, Ole Miss had 3 penalties that drive. And, you got to capitalize on those. Then Ole Miss, after that, they would have a 7-play drive where they would end up punting. LSU would go 3 and out and punt. And then after that was when A.J. Halsey forced a fumble. Yes, A.J. Halsey forced a fumble on the next drive. And Whit Weeks recovered it. Yes. And then immediately after the turnover, 3 and out, punt. Got to capitalize on the turnovers, man. Got to capitalize on the penalties by your opponent and the turnovers made by your defense, man. Got to. You have to. DJ Pickett had an interception, a pick six called back because of pass interference. And then there was also some more penalties on that drive. It led to an Ole Miss touchdown. So now it's 10-7. 10-7. LSU gets the ball back. Yeah, 10-7. LSU gets the ball back. They would go 4 plays for 18 yards and punt. This is a bad offense, man. And then they would give the ball back to Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss would have a 9-play drive for 70 yards, and they would score a touchdown. So now it's 17-7 going into halftime. Same situation as the Clemson game. 17-7, down 10. Come out at halftime. It's our ball. 5 plays punt. Defense steps up again. 6 plays punt for Ole Miss. So the next drive, LSU would get some points. They would go 8 plays, go down the field for 8 plays. And Damian Ramos with a 39-yard field goal to make it 10-17. And then this was a momentum shifter. This is when I thought, we were about to go down and score a touchdown. It was a 7-play drive from Ole Miss, and P.J. Woodland had the interception and returned it to the 41-yard line. But, we're on the 41-yard line. Offense can't really get anything going, so we'll go 6 plays and kick a field goal. Take the points from Ramos again. So now it's 13-17. We're down 4 going into the fourth quarter. Very first drive of the fourth quarter, Logan Diggs, a former LSU Tiger, another former LSU Tiger, just like Sage Ryan. Logan Diggs, a running back, will score a touchdown for Ole Miss. Now it's 24-13. Very next drive, it's a 15-play drive. This was the drive and really the quarter that Harlem Berry got going. Harlem Berry got going in the second half, a true freshman. There were some plays that I liked from Harlem Berry today, and he didn't start the game. Barry didn't start the game on Saturday, and hang on. Yeah, Harlem Berry didn't start that game. Jawan Johnson did. So after that touchdown from Barry, it's 24-19. You're still in this game. I think you have one timeout left. And then Ole Miss would just chew the clock out, 11 plays, and it was like 4th and 3 at one point. And if LSU gets a stop, there's still plenty of time left for LSU to score, make it 26-24, right? But Lane Kiffin and the offense come up with a wide open play to get their tight end open in the flat, and gain of 20, and then they would QB kneel, run the clock out, so LSU would lose that 24-19. They dropped to number 13 in the AP poll. They switched places. Ole Miss is now number 4. Ole Miss is now number 4. LSU is now 13. They got a bye week this week, man. Got a bye week this week. This is a week where you can get everyone healthy. Offense got to get going. Run game's got to get going. Nuss needs some better decision making. He had a ton of bad throws this game, and like I said, it's almost to a point where you got to start giving Van Buren his play time. Nuss played well in week 1, but ever since then, they've been blaming it on the torso injury. Well, if he's hurt, don't play him. Is a hurt Nuss better than a 100% Michael Van Buren? I don't think so. Not the way he's been playing lately. But like I said, week 1 he played well, got the National Offensive Player of the Year. And I'm not hitting the panic button. Yet. LSU's still in this. To make the playoff, and make a run at a national championship. But he's got to figure it out, man. Coming into the season, this is a dude that's expected to win a Heisman. He's a Heisman front runner for a, he's a first round draft pick in everyone's draft boards coming into the season, and his draft stock's just doing this, man. It's just straight declining right now, man. Offensive line got to figure it out, man. You can't get sacked so many times when Ole Miss is only rushing 3. That's so bad, man. It's sloppy. But like I said, got a bye week this week. And then I think you'll play South Carolina on the 11th. That'll be a home game, too. Time has not been announced for that game, but I'll be there. I will be at that game. I don't know if I'm going to drive there on Friday night or Saturday morning yet, but we'll still do the show and everything if I'm there on Saturday morning. But yeah, man. It was a tough loss to Ole Miss. A bunch of stuff going on the the social medias and the ESPN, and a whole lot of talk outside of the game. It's gonna do it for the LSU versus Ole Miss game. They'll lose that one 24-19. Ole Miss now 5-0, and LSU's now 4-1. New Orleans Saints, man. Let's talk some New Orleans Saints football. They're 0-4. Not a good football team. They took on the Bills this past, just yesterday, man. And it was a much better game than what I thought it was going to be, because after that Seahawks game, that historically bad loss, in Seattle, just bad from special teams, bad from the defense. Offense had a hard time getting things going. I thought this Bills team, because the Bills were one of the best teams in the NFL. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're going to go to the AFC Championship game. Everyone knows that. It's Josh Allen and the Bills, man. So after that last week game in Seattle, I was like, man, the Bills are going to put up at least 40 on us, at least. And I thought the offense wasn't going to play well at all, but we had 200 yards rushing, man. We had 200 yards on the ground. Kendry Miller played well. Um, if we played like this against a team like the Giants, who we play next week, a team like the Panthers, who's in the NFC South, a team like the Falcons, who's in the NFC South, you play like this against those teams, I feel like you win comfortably. This team fought to the very end. And you play like this against the Bills, which you were in the game for a while until the very end when where Josh Allen made that play on the ground. And they scored some late TDs in the fourth quarter. But Rattler threw for 126 yards and a touchdown. He's now 0-10 as a starter, man, and it sucks because Spencer Rattler is one of those guys where he deserves a win. He deserves a win in the NFL. Still has not gotten one yet as a starter, and it's tough, man. It really is. It sucks to see. Chris Olave had 2 drops early in the game. He scored a touchdown. He also threw an interception. We'll get to that later. Like I said, season high of 189 rushing yards. I mean, he freaking ran for 200 yards in this game. And this score doesn't really. I mean, yes, it looks like a blowout. The box score watchers and the stat watchers instead of people who actually watch the game. The score doesn't really show the game. This New Orleans team played well. They played tough. They fought to the very end. Coming into this game 0-3 with a rookie coach and, a young quarterback. And, this team fought to the very end against a team who's probably going to win the Super Bowl. Or, even play for a Super Bowl or play in the AFC Championship game. And this team fought their tail off, man. And it was cool to watch. Jonas Sanker, man. He had that pass breakup and then an interception on back-to-back plays. And the interception was just a perfect play by the safety, man, by Jonas Sanker. Perfect play by him, man. And, that was cool to watch, especially me being a former free safety, a former defensive back. I'm like, man, that was sick, man. That was cool, I took a great angle and just picked the ball off, just fell right under it and just picked it off. Saints ball, man. Chris Olave when he threw that interception. So it was right before halftime. It was third down at the 6-yard line, right? 3rd and goal. Saints need some points before halftime. So you can either kick the field goal right before halftime, or you can run a play and try to score a touchdown. And the Saints did that. They ran the Philly special. Remember the Philly special, the Nick Foles play in the Eagles Super Bowl when they won that Super Bowl. So Rattler handed off. Running back kind of like runs out to the outside. He'll give it up to Olave on like an end around type of like reverse play. Olave would catch, roll out to his right, and try to flip it over into Spencer Rattler's hands for a touchdown. Terrible throw by Chris Olave. That was horrible. And that's one of the plays where I feel like you only throw that if it's just certainly wide open. He's wide open by himself in the end zone. No question gonna be a touchdown. No question gonna be a first down when you run that play. If it's not wide open, you don't throw it. You just got to go try to make a play on your own on the ground. So that really lost momentum Um, do you take the points or do you kick it? Do you take the points or do you kick it or excuse me, do you take the points or do you go for it? And a big part of me says take the points because like why would you be like chancing uh 3 points, man? I mean, we're in the red zone. We're at like this 7-yard line. Kick the field goal. Kick the field goal. I do understand we have Blake Groupie, but I mean that's a chip shot, man. Anyone in the NFL is making that. There's high schoolers that are making that, man. This team cleaned up the penalties this game. The unforced errors, like the illegal formations and the lining up in the wrong spots, man, and lining up incorrectly, and the offside penalties, false start penalties. We cleaned that up. So that was good to see from some of the young guys. Um, but I mean, you play the Giants next week, man. Play the Giants next week. I don't see if that's a home game. I think it is a home game. I don't think we'll play back to back to back away games unless you're like Northwestern State, and then a freaking bye week. Man, it's been we didn't have a home game the entire month of freaking September, man. It's crazy. All right, let's see. All right, yeah. So that'll be a home game at the Superdome for New Orleans. Um, and yeah, that's a game you can win. I mean, Jackson Dart and the Giants, they won yesterday. Jackson Dart got his first ever win as an NFL starter. Started over Russell Wilson yesterday and got the win for the Giants. He played well. You know, Scattaboo and Dart both play with a lot of swag, man, and you could tell the way that Jackson Dart or not Jackson Dart, the way that Scattaboo runs the football, man. That dude freaking eats crayons, bro. I mean, that dude he's a baller, man. He's a baller and he's fun to watch. He's really fun to watch. Hopefully the Saints can shut him down. Um, but Jackson Dart is there's some game film on him now. There is game film on Jackson Dart now, so we'll be able to watch some of that, break him down, see what his weaknesses are, see what his tendencies are, and hopefully the Saints can get their first win of the year. A lot of people think Rattler's the problem, man. He's not. I don't think Rattler's a problem at all. Coming into this week, he was ranked like the ninth best quarterback in the NFL. Like, I don't know what it was by, one of the computer stats or whatever. But like the ninth highest graded quarterback or something like that in the entire NFL out of all 32 teams. Rattler's not the problem, man. Rattler's definitely not the problem. We're injured, man. We're hurt. Taysom Hill, he's out. Um, I don't know the timeline on him. I know it's an ACL or a knee. Uh, yeah. Yeah, so I don't have a timeline on him, but it said he should be ready to go, maybe possibly in the later half of the season because it happened in December 2024. So we'll see with Taysom Hill, man, in the second half of the season. But third downs would be so much easier if we had Taysom Hill. Uh, but yeah, man, go break down some film this week on Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo and this Giants team, and just go try to steal a win at home. Use that that home field to your advantage, man. That's why they call it home field advantage. Saints lose 31-19 to the Bills. Yeah. For LSU, like we said, get healthy this bye week, and for Northwestern State, get going early, man. Got to get going early. Well, got class at 9, 7:45 right now. We're getting the show early today. We started a little bit early too. We started at like 6:54, I think, 6:55 or something. 46-minute show. Thanks, you guys. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today on the Morning Blitz. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, 7 a.m. to around 7:45, 8 a.m. Just a quick hour-long show, just to just know what's going on around the NFL, college football. But if you're a Saints fan, an LSU fan, if you watch the Ryder Cup, if you're an Astros fan, if you live in Louisiana and you liked all that stuff this weekend, didn't really miss a shot from the Ryder Cup, watch some baseball, watch LSU play, watch the Saints play. It was tough. It was a tough weekend for us. So hold your head up high today, though, man. Hold your head up high and um, go win the day today, man. Because I just think, when you think about it this way, LSU's getting healthy this week. They're figuring out what they have got to do better on offense. Because if they don't clean it up now, then I don't think they will at all this season. Defense still got to keep playing stellar. You got to keep playing lights out, man, because you're being called upon every game. So just keep doing your job on defense, man. Think about it this way. Saints have a good chance of winning this Sunday. Don't got to watch LSU play this week after a tough loss. And, you would like to watch LSU play this week. Obviously, I mean, you want to see them play because, we're fans. But, in your head that they're getting healthy and they need this week off. So, Monday Night Football tonight. Who plays? Who plays Monday Night Football? Jets, Dolphins. Oh, there's two games. Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. All right. So, yeah. Got some football to watch tonight. Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. Go check that out. Should be a fun night of football to watch tonight on this Monday. So, yep, that's gonna do it today. Appreciate you guys for tuning in today. We'll see you back here tomorrow. But I'm gonna go get some food and then go to class at 9. Got an English class, man. So I'm gonna go do that. Go get some food and then go to class. So see you guys tomorrow back here, same time, 7 a.m. right here